You're listening to the Spotless Podcast, where cleanliness is always next to potliness. Now, here are your hosts, Hannah Brooks Olson and Andrew Walsh.
Genevieve had a suggestion for a show topic for us this morning, Hannah. I promised I would share it with you. I know we won't be getting into it on today's show, but out of the blue this morning when I said, I got to go downstairs, I'm recording with Hannah, she said, you guys should do a show on money laundering. It's like, okay, that's a different kind of cleaning, I suppose. I said, you mean because money smells? She said, no, like official money laundering.
Like actually money laundering.
Yeah, maybe. So, I don't know. Do you have any experience in that? Is that something? Should we ask our listeners, the scrub jockeys, if they have any personal stories of money laundering they'd like to share with us on the voicemail line?
I do not have any personal experience with money laundering. I don't think. I'm trying to
It's
think.
funny. Why won't you look me in the eye when you say that? You're looking really shifty right now.
That's true. Well, I'm
Are
trying
you
to
sweating? You look like you're sweating a little bit, huh? That's
why?
weird.
What have people told you? What have you heard? Who talked to you about this? No, I'm trying to think because I did at one point have an employer who I thought might have been money laundering, and it was
Really?
ironically when I worked as a janitor. I did actually think our
Really?
boss might have been we performed the jobs of janitors. We did the actual work.
And you worked for a private company, I should say,
Yes, we
right?
worked for a private
It
company.
wasn't an institution or
No,
anything.
it was a lady, and she had a commercial cleaning business, and she, we had a storage unit where we basically ran the business out of, and we had a van that, we drove around in, but it was an independent. We did think she might have been doing some mild money laundering, but I think that's just skimming.
Huh, that's interesting.
I remember we had conversations that we thought there were maybe fake accounts. Because the thing is we had real accounts. We had real places we'd go and clean. But there were times where looking at, because I remember my manager who was also a janitor would look at the books. And there were a couple of accounts that we were none of us have ever actually cleaned that place before.
Uh-huh.
Which would be a good way to launder money is if you had a fake account that was paying you to do janitorial services,
Right.
and then you took in that money and filtered it through the rest of it. That actually wouldn't be the worst money laundering scheme.
Isn't there a word for that, no-show work or something like that? Isn't Kawhi Leonard accused of that?
Yes,
Not to
it's
spin out of control too much here.
But yeah, it's the idea. It's one of the ways to launder money, which is that you have fake work that never happens, but it's because it never has to happen because it's not real work. Although now I feel like a really great caper movie would be about laundering money through a janitorial service.
Through a janitorial service. I absolutely think that's a good.
And you
So
could
we
call
either
it
have a
Clean
show.
Money.
Oh, I like that. Very good. All right. Well, listen, listeners, if you have any stories of the time you laundered money, give us a call at 508-469.
We will keep it anonymous.
9274. You can keep your exactly. You could get yourself one of those voice changer things or just leave it. Yeah, and tell me. I'll downshift it a lot. Again, that phone number is 508-HOW-WASH. I'm happy to keep you anonymous as long as the stories are real. And, honestly, just compelling. I don't really care if they're real. You can also record a voice memo and email it to us, spotlesspod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram and YouTube at spotlesspod and spotlesspod.com for the actual website, which Anna, I'm sorry I just called you Anna.
You did. That's fine.
I did. I apologize.
It's fine because I was
guys for that.
distracted about thinking about how I actually want to just end this podcast right now so we can go co-write Clean Money the movie.
I know. It's pretty good.
It's a really good idea. It's a free idea.
Have you seen Sunshine Cleaners? That's one that we should. Isn't that that's one of the it's about, I think, a woman who something happens in her life and I think she has to take a job maybe and she cleans up a lot of murder scenes and other.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, because isn't it kind of based on a real, I might be incorrect about this, but I do think there was because I remember I read a book about a crime scene cleanup. I've read several books about crime scene cleanup, and I think it was vaguely based on an actual person.
It's got we're getting way off topic, and I will bring things back around. I promise, because we actually have a lot of good cleaning related stuff to talk about today. We have somebody, you haven't even heard this voicemail yet. I'm excited to play it for you. Somebody who's got a very admirable approach to Thanksgiving cleanup. that I want to
big.
play for you. I think you're going to have opinions on that. We have a lot of people who've called in or written in talking about cleaning projects that are specific to their occupation, which is something we've been looking for. But I noticed that this movie, Sunshine Cleaning, stars Emily Blunt, Amy Adams, and Alan Arkin. Now, this is interesting to me for a very specific reason that will not be relatable to anybody else. But when I have trouble sleeping, Genevieve taught me a game to play, which is you come up with just any topic and then go through the alphabet trying to think of examples of that topic.
I do the same thing.
My exact one that I've been doing for months now is trying to think of actors whose first name and last name begin with the same letter. And I almost always begin with either Alan Arkin or Alan Alda.
Sure.
You see how it goes? And then you're like, okay, those are the A's.
all the time, by the way.
Oh,
they're
really?
not at all the same actor,
No,
but
they're
their
not.
name being so similar does confuse me.
But now I realize I could put Amy Adams in that slot as well. I've been sleeping.
Yeah.
And here we have an Amy Adams
You've
and
literally been
Alan
sleeping
Arkin
on Amy
in
Adams.
the same. I've been sleeping on those names. And then just to flesh this out a little bit, the B's for me are Bob Balaban.
Okay, sure.
The C would be Charlie Chaplin.
Yep.
The D would be Danny DeVito.
Sure.
And do you know who the E is?
Who?
Emilio Estevez. It's the only E I can think of.
That's a good. This is a great game. I do this when I'm trying to sleep. Sometimes I will also do it when I'm running to like get my brain just to think about something else.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I do that a lot just to get my brain onto a topic other than the fact that I'm running. And I do it with like animals, vegetables. I do it with colors. And then the other thing I do when I'm running to try and just like distract myself is I try and remember state capitals in alphabetical order. Like by state, not by the capital.
I like that. I just could never name. I really hesitate to even test me on state capitals.
You never listened to the Animaniacs song?
No, I mean, I think people have sent that to me because I think this has come up as a topic on TBTL from time to time, and I think people have sent it to me. I know that isn't Helena one?
Yeah,
That's
Helena,
the state
Montana.
capital. Or Helena. See, I couldn't even get that right, and I was proud of that because I thought that was kind of a sleeper. Yeah, but anyway.
There's Montgomery, Alabama, then there's Helena, Montana. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, there it is. That's not how it begins, though, is it?
No.
Did I actually choose one from the beginning of the song? That would be
You might
ironic.
have. But yeah.
I don't know if that's really the definition of irony. All right, listen, we
I
got
don't
to
know,
get
but from
going
now
here.
on, I'm going to do it with cleaning products.
Ooh,
with it alphabetically.
Tools or supplies.
I was thinking supplies.
Like Fabuloso would be your
Yeah.
F.
Yeah, like Ajax.
Ajax would be A.
Obviously.
Look at that.
Yep.
Wait, where's my goddamn bell? Wait, well, let's just try
Ajax,
this. You know what? I'm
Bonami.
sorry, everybody. We're not doing your letters or voicemails
We're just
today.
listing things
Okay.
alphabetically.
We got Ajax. Did you say Borax for B? What did you say for
Borax
B?
or Bonami.
Bonami. What's
Yep.
Bonami again?
It's basically Ajax. It's like the sprinkle
Okay.
powder with the little chickie on the front.
Okay. I don't know if I should be apologizing or saying you're welcome to the listeners, but what would
Clorox.
C be? Clorox. All right. D.
Now here's the question.
Drano doesn't count, right?
I think Drano counts. The other question that you have to ask yourself when you play this game is, are we just going for brand names or is it products generally? Because D, you could say detergent, but that's not a brand name. So like that's, those are your own, the rules are your own.
I feel like we've started with brands. We should stick
Yes.
with brands.
I agree.
So are you accepting Drano, or is there a better one?
I mean, it sits
Only
in the cleaning
this
cupboard.
is a pod. See, the thing is, for people who don't know, the point of this game is you're not supposed to have answers at the ready. It should be a
Right.
little bit of a struggle, and that's what puts you to
the
sleep. You start
process,
thinking, E, what is an E cleaner? And then eventually you find your mind sort of wandering to other places. But the good news is your mind isn't like kind of circling around whatever was keeping
The day's
you up.
activity that was making you
Yes,
upset. Yeah,
exactly. There,
right.
whatever anxiety. The day potentially being a day in 1993 when you said something slightly embarrassing in front of an adult, and it's still keeping you up at night 30 years later. But all right, so we have to go with easy ones here because we're trying to keep the needles moving on this podcast, and we're trying not to fall asleep for a change.
Right.
Can you think of an E?
People are shouting at their phones right now,
Yeah.
I'm sure, because they are thinking of them. I can't think of an E
Magic
cleaner right
eraser.
I thought about that too.
Skip the M. Got to save that for
Okay,
M's.
but a listener. Okay, I'm really actually very. I don't want to get into this. We can maybe pitch this.
Yeah, let's
and talk
move
about
on.
Later.
Let's move
But
on. Yeah.
a listener did send me an Instagram video about how magic erasers release tons of microplastics, and it got me very upset. But at this moment, it's something I'm choosing to put out of my head because there are only so many things I can worry about in a given day.
Yeah,
and
I
I
understand
already,
that.
much as I often will, if I take like a long shower, I will sort of give myself relief because I don't have children and I'm a lifelong vegetarian. So I feel that my personal carbon footprint is already very negligible.
Yeah,
And also
right.
the idea
Credits.
of
You've earned credits.
Good point credits and or good place credits, but also that the idea of the personal climate or like carbon footprint was developed by big oil companies to make us all feel bad so that they didn't have to. So just I have a lot going on. So
Yeah.
But anyway, so magic erasers for me currently are still on the table because there's only so much I can worry about in a day, and they really do the best job of getting smudges off door frames and stuff. Okay.
Off of door frames, yeah. End dust, by the way. And I cheated. I looked up an alphabetical list of cleaning products on Wikipedia. End dust is something that I've used in the past growing up. But well, that's because you grew up in a more responsible family that didn't use products that were aerosol. And I'm pretty sure end dust with an aerosol spray. No?
We just didn't use cleaning
talk
products.
about it.
We just didn't clean.
Well, that's one way to not use aerosol products, certainly.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the emails and voicemails today, I did want to. So you have something going on. You texted me the other day, and I was a little distracted, and I think that I kind of had a typo in one of my responses to you, so I don't know if it led to more confusion or not. But you said you have two big cleaning-related things going on in your house, and I was trying to figure out if maybe it's one big cleaning situation with two heads to it. You know what I mean?
And it's not, although they are related. So as I've talked about before, I've been in this like apple cider making time, and by the way, I did successfully make hard cider, and I did successfully make moonshine. However,
And you didn't make vinegar this time? That was my typo in the things. You usually make apple cider vinegar. This time you just made apple cider.
This time I was very focused on the cider of it.
Drinkable cider,
yes.
Okay. Hard cider?
Hard cider, yes.
Okay.
So the problem is I don't know how much alcohol's in any of them because I don't have a way. I didn't think about getting the little thingy that tests ABV. So I'm a little afraid to start in on my stash, not knowing how much of it I can have responsibly. So,
well, I mean, it's not acid. It's not like you're going to go on a trip for
but it
too
could make
long
me ill.
and get out of your mind. Oh, I guess it could make you ill, but you could just take a few sips. You've had alcohol before. I don't want to tattle on you in front of your mom. I know she listens.
I have had alcohol.
You've had alcohol before.
Amounts of it that healthcare providers have warned me is perhaps too much.
Sure.
But I do have them, and I've been using. So I have actually been using the hard cider as ant traps or as fruit fly traps. Sorry. The hard cider works great as a fruit fly trap because they're into it and then they get into it and then they immediately drown.
Yeah.
So that's been working great. I am actually very happy with how the hard cider is working. However, I went to go dump out one of my fruit fly traps and refill it with new apple cider a while back. And I'm curious if anybody else has ever had this happen to them because it was so catastrophic. This is on me, but I was having to reach back. All the apple cider is in jars in the back of the fridge. So I reached back to grab one of them, and I grabbed it by the lid. And the lid was on, but it kind of slipped from my hand and then tumbled over. And it spilled apple cider, hard apple cider, all over the inside of the fridge.
Okay, hold on a second. So you're reaching into the refrigerator, or the refrigerator is below the shelf? Okay, so it's in the refrigerator.
The top shelf of the refrigerator.
Okay, because I guess that you said that you were reaching up, and
I had to
forgot
reach up.
that you're a short person.
Yeah, I couldn't see.
The idea of reaching up into the refrigerator is not something.
By the way.
Oh wait, do you have a side-by-side refrigerator freezer?
No, we have a drawer freezer down below, so it's the whole thing is open. but I
Okay.
just couldn't see what was at the very back of the top shelf. So I was reading, but I knew
Sure.
it was there because our refrigerator has those glass shelves, so I could like kind of see the bottom
Yeah,
of it.
but you said that the lid stayed on, yet it spilled. Does this mean that the jar broke or the lid wasn't on properly?
The lid was not on properly, and this one had already been made into hard cider, and I had transferred it into another container because I needed my really tight sealing jars for other things. So this one, it had a lid on it, and I didn't really care if it went flat because I knew that was just going to be like fly trap cider. So
Yeah.
it had a lid on it, but you know how sometimes a lid it'll go onto a jar, but it's
Yeah.
not on great.
It just wasn't on properly.
Yeah.
It was just sort of like maybe the threads were out of line. Or
Yes. So it was on, but as I went to pick it up by the lid, sort of, it just like slipped out of my hand and took the lid with it.
whatever. On the top shelf of
Top
the
shelf.
refrigerator, which if I know anything about gravity, it means it all stayed up there and it was contained.
It definitely did not leach through because of our refrigerator having sort of adjustable shelves. It didn't immediately flood the top, and it was only like, I don't know, it was maybe 3 ounces of cider, 4 ounces of cider.
Oh, okay. So it's not a full jar.
But it's enough
Yeah.
to go down onto everything below it, and then everything below
goddamn.
it, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to clean a refrigerator. And so what happened was I was so worried about it being
Especially
sticky.
for a hobbit.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god, I saw a video the other day of like a real estate agent doing a walkthrough of an apartment, like whatever. But I was like, holy shit! And he was filming it with like those meta glasses, so it was like
Oh,
literally
yeah.
from his eye level. I was like, oh my god, this is what the world looks like to other people.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I forget that for other people, the kitchen countertop is not at their rib cage.
Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah.
I do forget this. So I had to get my step stool, which was annoying. And I had to use paper towels, which we really try not to use for the most part. But I was like, a cloth towel is not gonna. I'm gonna have to go through so many rags, and then I'm gonna have to do laundry. Like immediately, I was like, I just can't. And I was gonna. I composted all the paper towels when I was done, so it was whatever. But it was such a mess. And then I was and because it's those glass shelves that are like hard to get clean, like you would think.
Did you just take everything out? Like I would
I had
just
to
be like,
take everything
screw
out.
this. You just literally take everything out of the
I
refrigerator.
took everything out,
start-
and
yeah.
then I put it into the sink so I could like wash it off.
Yep.
But one of the things that included was a bag of Costco lettuce heads, like romaine hearts, and I really didn't want them to get all messed up because that's it. So I put those into the sink. I'm hosing them off. I'm drying it as best I can, but I was like, this is very challenging. And then I got it like pretty well clean to the point where it wasn't sticky, but it was still wet on the inside. Because I also wanted to use like a lot of water. I didn't want to just use cleaner, so I didn't want it to be
Yes.
sticky. Because like there's a lot of sugar in this. Like this will become a sticky.
It's nasty.
I'm gonna make toffee in this refrigerator if I don't get this right. So so there's water then in the fridge. But one thing I know about the refrigerator is it's an extremely dry place, and that things dry quickly in a refrigerator. It's why your food gets icky, because it like leaches the moisture out. So I was not too worried about it. Then a little while later in the day, I hear Keith go into the refrigerator. He doesn't say anything, but I hear him taking things out and getting a spray bottle. And I was like, and so I just yelled to the next room. I was like, are you cleaning the refrigerator that I cleaned earlier today? Are you clean? Did you not think I did a good job? Because I did a very thorough job. And he was like, no, it's not clean in here. And I was like, is it not clean or is it just wet still? Because I had to hose off the lettuce heads. It was just wet. But the challenge of getting everything both cleaned and then dry before putting it in the very dry refrigerator, I was just like, not gonna do it. Like the
So he
lettuce
saw
can be wet.
moisture in there
Yes.
and assumed that it was just dirty.
Yeah.
I got to say, though, one thing, just to count your blessings for a second. I mean, what a world to live in a house where two people are taking the initiative to clean the refrigerator on the same day. Like, I'm kind of like not even really allowed to clean the fridge, at least not in the way that I would like, which is
Right.
to like just take autonomy and throw a whole bunch of stuff away that isn't needed, you know, like.
Well, this
and
surprised
so
me
like
because-
that's very nice. You have a house where two people are just like on their own. I mean, yours was a
the thing,
forced
though.
hand.
Here's the thing, though. Keith is not usually someone who would ever clean the refrigerator. The only reason he did it was because the water that was coming off the bags of lettuce was very visible.
Yeah.
And, like, but again, like, the lettuce will dry. I would rather be too wet than too dry. That's how you keep lettuce good too. So I was like, I wasn't that worried about it. But when he saw like the little puddle of water in the fridge, he immediately like that's what got his attention.
Yeah, sure.
Because
Yeah,
usually he is
sense.
not someone who cleans the fridge. He doesn't like. I am in charge of cleaning out leftovers. I am in charge of that because he just like doesn't like. He will admit his refrigerator blindness is terminal. He will admit this. He asked me the other day where something was, and I was like, it's in the door. And he was like, which door? Like, of the fridge. And I was like, the one on your right-hand side. He was like, it's not. And I was like, it definitely is. I put it there earlier. Yes, it is. And he was like, oh, it was hiding behind something else. And I was like,
yeah. I know
it's in
that
the drawer,
feeling.
right? So
even when I'm the one who puts it in there, especially like our doors in the side of our. I'm sorry, the what would you call it? The shelves on the side of the refrigerator doors are deeper than they were like when we were growing up, and it's sort of, and you look down on it, and most of the labels are hidden because you're looking down at the flat tops of a whole bunch of jars, and you don't know, is that hoisin sauce? Is that plum sauce?
Yeah.
Are they anchovies? I don't know. They all have golden colored lids, you know.
Right. And we've talked about this before also, just about the like being the list, like who in the house is the list. Like I could tell you, I would say with a 5% margin of error, what precisely is in our refrigerator right now and what container it's in. Like I could tell you everything that's in there because it just lives in my head. What's in the fridge? Whereas, like, there will be times with Keith where he'll be like, oh, do we still have, like, whatever leftovers? And I'm like, those are from literally 2 weeks ago. No, we don't. Like, because he just, to him, like, that just, it isn't part of his day-to-day, like, monitoring what exactly is in the fridge and how clean it is and, like, what's there. So, and again, like, a lot of this is the privilege of just being two people. Like, I know exactly what I've done to the fridge, so I also know what he's done to the fridge because I see it. So normally he would not be one to clean the fridge. And this actually happens not infrequently. And again, it is appreciated that we have two people in the house who are interested in cleanliness. But a lot of times, if I clean something, that's what brings it to his attention, that it is now cleaner than it was. And there are still
but not
times,
clean enough.
There are still times where I will find him re-cleaning something I literally cleaned early in that day.
That's interesting.
And I will ask, I'll be like, I did that earlier. He's like, yeah, but there's this other, like, you missed this spot, or there's a, like, he only notices it once I have already changed the appearance of the thing. And there are some things that, like, it's just not a concern for him, like, until it's a concern. Like, and again, like, none of this is to critique him. It's just the way, like, our different brains work. Because he is very much interested in putting things back exactly where they live. Like, he is very organized. But the actual cleaning parts of it, like, I genuinely don't think I've ever seen him get out the spray bottle and a cloth to wipe the kitchen counters. And, like, I just don't think that's a thing. And our kitchen counters
I remember you telling me when you were first dating that you had some issues with the upkeep of his own counters at
his
the time.
counters stank because he just used Clorox wipes and didn't actually, like, clean them. He just, like, wiped them. And so it had that, like, mildewy smell that happens sometimes when you don't actually wash the thing. But, like, so our counters are, I don't know, I guess they're maybe fake marble of some sort, but they're very speckly.
Okay. Yeah,
so they really do, if you are not really paying attention, it's very easy to let those counters get gross because you just can't see what's dirt and what's counter, right? Is
part of that the appeal of that style? Because that style was very popular for a while there, and it is interesting. Like, even ours, we don't have marbly, but we have countertops that are a little bit like they're kind of a pattern of various colors of blue, sort of. And even that, I kind of like the fact that it doesn't stand out the way we used to have these old white counters where like everything just stood out.
Where you just see everything.
The coffee stains, everything. So but also I don't mind it hiding a little bit because I'm also staying on top of it. I'm constantly wiping down the counters with both wet rags and then usually going over it again at the end of the day with a spray bottle and some paper towels or something. So I don't, but if you're not somebody who's staying on top of that, that's just a way to, like, kind of hide grossness for a long, long time.
Yeah. And so, like, a lot of times at night, like, because I make dinner, then he'll do the dishes and, like, clean up the kitchen after I'm done. And I clean as I go a lot. I am also very active at, like, if I make something and I know there's going to be leftovers, I will get out a container to put the leftovers in and set it next to the food when he's putting it away. Just to, like, make it as easy as possible for him. I'm not trying to pile him on with work, right? But at one point I had to ask him, I was like, when you are cleaning up the kitchen at the end of the night, can you also wipe down the counters as part of that process? Because he'll load the dishwasher, he will put things away, he will, sort of put everything back where it needs to go, but the actual wiping of the counter is just not a part of his equation. Because as long as the stuff is away, that's like checkbox for him. And it's just a difference in what we, I think, consider clean. Because I will leave an object in a place that it maybe normally isn't, but I will wipe underneath it and then put it back, is a difference.
Yeah, I do that, yeah.
But again, if I start the cleaning process, I think sometimes that gets him noticing it, and then I will find him re-cleaning something, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. It's fine. But
for me, wiping the counters is just something that I'm doing all the time anyway, so I'm not really... And by the way, sorry I spaced out there. Can I just be honest with you about something? I was going back to our game. I can't think of a cleaning project that begins with G. We got Fabuloso. We had Endust for the E. Fabuloso we had slotted in for the F. And I got stuck on the G, which is, you probably thought I was listening. But I was going to say, like, the conversation about countertops isn't even one that I would have because I'm just constantly doing it anyway. And it's not unusual, like, if Genevieve does cook something, it's and even cleans up all the dishes or loads the dishwasher. If I go up there, I'll touch the counter. I'll be like, ooh, this is rough here.
Well, that's the thing, right, is I touch it, and then I'm like, oh, that's how I know.
But I just clean it without even thinking about it. Like, honestly, if that's the worst of it, then it's kind of like, then I'm just grabbing. I constantly have towels on the counter, and so I'm just constantly now like wiping it down with a towel, probably wetting that towel, then wiping it down, throwing it right in the washing machine. I do love having a washing machine right off the kitchen.
I miss
constantly
that
constantly doing dish
our
towels.
Old apartment, the bathroom was where it was a really small apartment, so the washer and dryer stack was in the bathroom, and it was right off the kitchen. And so we just always had the the washer open, and you would just throw towels in as you went, and like it was so easy. Our place now, what we have that is also very helpful, and I do recommend this if you are like a cloth kitchen towel person, and we didn't even put this in, it was there when we moved in, but I love it. It's on the back of the drawer or the door of the cabinet that's under the sink. So like our sink is in the corner kind of, and underneath is this really deep cabinet that has like a lot of the cleaning supplies and stuff in it. The cabinet the cabinet is actually so deep that like it's very easy to lose stuff. So one of the first things I did when we moved in was I put in like a series of like sliding drawers under the cabinet to sort of organize. But on the back of the door, there's a little plastic thing from IKEA that I think people usually use for plastic bags. Like if you save plastic bags.
Oh, yeah.
It's got like holes in it. It's
You've
a plastic
told me
caddy
about
kind
this.
of deal.
Yeah.
And it's like stuck on, I don't think it's screwed. I think it's like command stripped onto the back of the door. But we use that for kitchen towels. And so anytime like you're wiping something down and then you have a dirty kitchen towel, you just open up that door, drop it in, and you just put it right there. And then when I'm doing towel laundry, I just collect everything up from there, and it's really easy.
Yeah.
So that is a really easy way to do it. If I were to do it again, if we didn't have that, I would get something where the basket itself actually removes, so I could take the whole basket downstairs, because I have to like dig everything out of there now. But
or a chute or a conveyor belt.
I would
Pee-wee's Big
love
Adventure.
a chute. I knew someone in Seattle, and he had actually former Mayor Mike McGinn. He had at his house, they had just a hole under one of their sinks in the bathroom, but it was a chute that went straight down to the laundry, and I was so jealous. Oh my God, I loved that so much. Our laundry room is not really in a place where that's possible, but
that's why you need a conveyor belt down below that takes in. You probably, I don't know why, but you probably need one of those like kind of perpetual motion machines that is like a chicken pecking a keyboard type of thing. You
that
need
would
one
be
of
great.
those.
I would also love like a sushi conveyor belt kind of deal where I could just
that's
put,
what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
What if you put you're putting the dirty towels on the conveyor belt and taking clean ones off? Oh, God damn.
I would love
I
that.
can't even replace a cupboard. It's funny, I talk about these, well, obviously we're joking about this particular project, but there are just so many things. It does bum me out. Lately I've been thinking about the fact that like when I go to other people's homes, even if it's not necessarily in my style, like I was visiting my folks in Cleveland recently, and they live a very suburban with a capital S kind of style house in the suburbs.
Did the house
of
smell
Cleveland.
like apples and cinnamon, like a townhouse?
Yeah, and it's nice. And I'm not even saying that to rag, but that's their thing. And but it's a lot of some real plants, but mostly like kind of fake plants, but it's very, very cozy or whatever. And again, not to my taste necessarily, but it is just very nice that they're very clean people where everything is like very meticulous. I mean, everybody makes fun of my dad because he is so meticulous, and that's clearly where I get it from.
I was going to say.
Right, but also like they have a basement that when they moved into this place was just a big unfinished basement with like, you know, a water heater in the middle. And now, you know, like very quickly they went in there, he met with planners and like, you know, and also had the financial ability to do this. But you know, for well over a decade now, if not 2 decades, like the whole thing is like this big living area with an office space and all this meticulous storage, these closets, a whole craft room and storage room where my stepmom can do things. And then this whole other like kind of like, you know, room with the television and a fake fireplace and like very, very cozy and a little dry bar and then a bathroom down there. And it's not, I'd like to state, this is not that big of a place. They just like took literally nothing and said, these were what our needs are. And I know people do this all the time. It's called renovation or whatever.
Yes,
but it's like,
I'm
so
this.
unmotivated to do big projects like that. Like we've been talking, and it's me. Like Genevieve is very motivated, and I always kind of drag my feet on stuff because I'm like, I would love to like get this thing taken care of, but I know that I'm going to have to go through a period of some time where everything is disrupted, and I hate disruption so much that I never do the projects.
This is a big part of why things do or do not happen in our house is because of the disruption. Because having people come into the house to do that work, first of all, one person's full-time job is going to be dealing with the dog, right?
Yeah, right.
And not because she's especially... When we've had guys in the house to do stuff like, or when we had our fence built or whatever, she's actually pretty into, she loves workers. Like she does love like, laborers. She will actually just sort of be overly invested. Like when we got our washer and dryer put in, she was following those dudes around. Just like, what's going on? Like she's too underfoot.
It's like bingo, yeah.
Yeah, she's so curious and she just like wants to know what's happening at all times. So we have to keep her away from it, which is in its own right an issue. And... So, like, that's a challenge. You know, we want to do a lot of work to our kitchen, but I'm like, I am thinking about the day in, day out of the kitchen being disrupted. And, like, I'm not prepared for that. I'm not prepared for the emotional management that's going to require. I already would sooner die in this moment than think about dinner for the next 2 days. And the idea of having the kitchen disrupted and having to do it. Like, the eating out budget just for us to do a kitchen remodel is going to have to be a separate line item. So these are the things that, yes, I understand this. We are only just now, finally, at last, painting our downstairs, our basement. Because our basement is finished. It's pretty wide open. It doesn't...
It's what you're in now, right?
Yeah,
You have
like
your studio down there.
There's a room that's off of the main basement area that's a full bedroom, and that's where I am. The rest of the basement is kind of an oddly shaped open area with a couple of funny little like nooks and stuff. We ultimately want to turn it into like a second living room / a place where Keith can have his game consoles and where it'll be a little more comfortable when people come to stay with us, like just to like spend time down there. Right now it's got like our workout equipment and just like Keith's drum kit is down here. But one of the main obstacles to finishing the room in the way we want to is we had to paint it. Our previous homeowners, bless their hearts, were obsessed with this robin's egg blue color, which I've mentioned before because I also had to paint it in this office. It is this bright aqua teal color that I cannot stand. It doesn't go with any of our decor. It does not go with the time period that we are trying to capture. It is very...
blue.
It's very blue. It's very like 2009 Miami. It's so blue. And it's on all these accent walls. And to cover it, you have to do at least 2 full coats of primer and then 2 full coats of paint. So like it's a procedure.
Yeah.
I painted the one accent wall in this room down here, and then I painted the rest of the room over like a weekend. And it wasn't too bad because it was over the weekend. I didn't really need to be in here too much. But the rest of the downstairs, like the walls are really big. And so just even getting that process started, and we're in it now. We have 2 coats of primer on it, and we're going to do the rest of the painting like today. because we are intending to actually like start putting stuff down here. And I already painted over like one of the other walls, and then we have to, move some shelves around, do a bunch of other stuff. But like even just getting to that and having to move and like take down the shelves that are there, and because like there's these big wooden shelves that we have to take down, like all of that process and disruption is just, it's so much easier to not do it.
It's just easier not to do it.
It's easier not to do it.
I'd rather just like watch my shows or play my games or do whatever, and then just like look, because I've mentioned many times, like we have this little kitchenette area downstairs in the basement, very, very small, very humble, but like also very gross, and like it was like kind of put in. It's got again like kind of whatever the cheapest version of that faux marble is down there, but it was just like everything installed like really shoddily, so that exposed glue here, and this cupboard won't open because they just plaster this cheap ass ceiling light where the cupboard should open, and so it just bangs into it. Then below the kitchen sink, like it's that press board cupboard, and like one corner of it looks like if you were to come look at it's embarrassing. But I just but every time I look at it, I get like this sense of depression, honestly. But then what am I doing to fix it? Like nothing, because it's just easier to fire up Baldur's Gate 3 and play that instead. You know what I mean? And keep my inventory clean in there.
Right, and just be like, well, at least everything's together, right? It's not taken apart. It's not all over the place.
Yeah.
Now, and again, we've talked about this before. There are other ways that I would like to improve my house that don't require, like, would I like to eventually fully remodel our bathroom upstairs? Yes, I would. Would I like to, in the meantime, just replace that awful bathroom mirror that's barely bolted to the wall that clangs every time I have to wash it? Also, yes. Like, I would be very interested in doing that minor replacement instead of doing the entire kitchen remodel. And this is where Keith and I differ. He would rather just have that shitty mirror until we finally do a full kitchen remodel.
And then do a full thing,
Yes. Whereas I'm like, that full remodel or bathroom remodel, that full remodel is 5 years down the line at best. And I have to wash that mirror once a week, every week, for the next 5 years. I could replace it this weekend and at least have that minor improvement that would make me feel better. But like those are a lot of conversations that we have to have around house stuff.
Yeah.
We should probably start the show.
We should, but I do want to say that we set up two problems that you had and whether or not they were related. One was the apple cider spill.
Yeah.
And then the other one was ants. And that's where I'm wondering if these two stories intersect at all. Did the ants come for the apple cider, or were the ants just a totally separate problem that's a coincidence?
The ants, I think, were just, again, in that season. When it gets cold and wet, the ants just, like, start moving inside. What I don't know about, though, that's so strange, and we haven't had this problem before, is the ants, and this is also why I'm constantly wiping the countertops, the ants are coming in, and we've put out traps, and in the past, when we see the ants coming in, you put out the traps, it takes care of itself in a couple of days. I have gone through so many traps, and I'm trying to put them in different places, and it's not capturing them, or they're not going to it, or it's not working. I don't know if this generation of ants is too smart for the little liquid trap. I don't know. And we're fortunate in that, like, Lola doesn't care about that. She's not interested in the liquid trap, so I can put it like under like under the couch, and like she's not gonna go nosing around at it.
Yeah.
So that's fortunate. But like I don't know what it is about these ants. They're so persistent. I put traps around the outside of the house. I put ant poison around the outside of the house. I tried to close up a bunch of I caulked a few of the places where ants were coming in, where we had like a little hole or whatever under the trim. Like I would caulk that up. Like I've done a lot.
Can you tell us what the ant problem looks like? How does it manifest itself? Do you see an ant here and there, or do you open a cupboard and you see a bunch of ants, or what?
No, they're not in the cupboard, and it's not a lot. It's one. It's always one little scout ant, but they will appear just like on the bathroom sink, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?
Okay.
Like, why are you here?
What are you doing?
What are you doing here? What's that that's going on over there?" Like they just will appear one, and then every now and then you'll be sitting on the couch, and suddenly one is on your person.
No, I don't like that.
They like fall from the ceiling. I don't know. They come out of nowhere, and then suddenly you're just like, "Up, one's on my sleeve. What the hell?" I don't, and we don't know where. And like, it's never It has in the past been like kind of a lot of ants. If I leave one of, Lola's toys with a treat in it and then they find that, like that does happen.
You might come into the kitchen, see it on the floor, and there might be a little family of ants
Yeah,
there.
exactly. It's usually like in the corner in the living room on the hardwoods. There's just like a place, like she nosed it into the corner, left it there, never went back for the iota of peanut butter that's still in the treat and then like in the toy. And
Does
then
she care about the ants?
No, she does not care about those.
Okay.
She does care about bigger bugs because we have some of those little like centipede kind of dudes, which are very
yeah.
not
silverfish. Silverfish.
We
or
have those too, but like
Okay,
those
those are
are less so.
different? Okay.
Apparently, the little caterpillars eat silverfish. Like,
Oh,
we
really?
learned, yes.
Yeah.
So we are trying to let them live, but every now and then there's one. And if she sees one of those on the floor, she gets really excited and is like, "What's this little dude?" And then she'll try to eat it, and then I guess that's not good.
No, probably not.
So the ants, but I don't know, they're just really resistant this year. I have tried so many different things to try and like keep them out of the house and then get them out of the house once they're here. And these one little scouts, like I'll just see one out of nowhere. And I don't know how to get on top of it. So if anyone has had success with ants, tell me.
And so they didn't interact with the I keep on wanting to say apple cider vinegar, but just the apple cider, that didn't seem to be, luckily. But you had to clean it up, though, because you definitely don't want to mess around with that.
And that was one of the reasons that I was so fast to clean it up and also so fast to like clean it aggressively with kind of a lot of water was because I wanted to make sure there was not a single little sticky patch. And so I really hose stuff down because I figured at least if it's water, like that's not going to attract the ants at all, right?
Yeah.
But then that's what brought Keith's attention to it, and that's how we ended up double cleaning the fridge.
Huh, that is interesting. I do wonder if other people are like, yeah, for some reason the ants aren't killable this year. I mean, could they be evolving?
I'm very, very curious if this is a thing that's happening to anyone else.
I feel very lucky, like even with all of my stories of pestilence, what was it, like 3 or 4 months ago with what appeared to be probably a dead animal in our wall, which led to flies, which then led to something called flesh flies. That was so nasty, sorry. Put that cup of eggnog down as I talk about flesh flies. But luckily that was a, bad but finite period of time, and we just have not had, again, just knock on all the wood substitute you can find, but we haven't had the ant thing at all really since we've been living in Seattle, and so I'm very, very lucky in that regard. Hey, speaking of eggnog, let's talk about Thanksgiving here. We got a voicemail from listener Bridget. Now, I would do a call out for more stories like this, except our next show will be after Thanksgiving. This is our only Thanksgiving related.
We can do it for other holiday stuff, though.
We can do it for that's true. That is true. Christmas, whatever winter holidays you celebrate, maybe this will kind of spur conversation, and you can call our voicemail line and share your own stories. But this is Bridget, who has, because after the Thanksgiving meal, everybody always wants to be helpful in some way, right? Are you hosting Thanksgiving this year,
No,
Hannah?
we are. It's just going to be Keith and I. We're doing the thing we love to do, which is we do make a lot of food. We make an all-vegetarian spread.
Oh, for the two of you. Okay.
And then we just have leftovers for ages. And
nice.
We watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, nice. Fantastic.
That is we watch the dog show in the morning, and then we watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and that's our day, and it is delightful. We've often had stragglers come over. There have been many times where if just a friend is in town and they don't have some, we do make kind of a lot of food, but I think this year it's just gonna be the two of us, and I can't wait.
Nice. I love that. We're actually joining. We're doing something. We do a Thanksgiving usually, maybe let's say 2 out of every 3 years, and then the third year we'll do something different or something. This year we're meeting some friends. They go to a Brazilian steakhouse every year for Thanksgiving, so we're going to try that. But when we do Thanksgiving, and maybe we'll have, 4, 5, 6 people over, something like that, everybody's always very kind, and they always want to help after the meal, right? And I am a control freak, and also it's my space, and also I'm not a super social person, so I'll always just tell people, just go downstairs, go watch a movie, go watch Mixed Nuts with Genevieve or whatever.
So good.
I love that Liam Shriver vehicle. But
so good.
I haven't watched it in a few years. I want to rewatch it anyway. And then I'll just say, everybody, there's the best thing you can do to help is get out of here. You scram. I'll take care of it. I will. I know what tubs I want the leftovers in.
Well,
I know
very particular about your leftover containers too. I know you like to downsize your leftover.
Exactly.
You have
I don't
a
like
real system.
I don't want a little bit of food in a big container if it's taking up refrigerator space. And of course, refrigerator space is going to be really at a premium. My refrigerator is at its limit.
Max capacity, no room at the end.
You you said you've also been watching The Chair Company. I cannot stop talking like the guy in the shirt store who says, I know a man who's at his limit.
The man in the shirt store, who, by the way, is actually a dude who works in a clothing store.
It's his store.
It's his
They were doing
store.
a location.
They found
they were
this
doing
guy
a
and they were like,
location shoot, and they were looking at the store, and then they also said, "We want you to act in it as well." He has no acting experience. Anyway,
So
he's
yes.
amazing. I'm obsessed with that show. But anyway, all of that is to say, I am rambling now. Everybody knows that phenomenon when people want to help, but then it's like how much. Sometimes too many people who don't know your kitchen trying to help is unhelpful. I usually just try to get everybody out of the kitchen. But Bridget here, who I believe is our 1 millionth listener.
Wow.
That was the number that she chose for herself. I don't think we actually have 1 million listeners, just for the record. Has a whole system that she'd like to share with us.
Hi, Hannah and Andrew. This is Bridget, your millionth listener. I wanted to call with a Thanksgiving cleaning tip. So we do the bin method in my house. Before the meal, I have 5 or 6 cheap, like dollar store dishwashing bins. And I put a little slip of paper in each one that says silverware or plates or bowls or napkins or trash. And then after the meal, when a couple of people say, oh, here, let me help clean up, let me still, I can say, oh yeah, here you go.
By the way, I love this imitation of people offering to help. I'm going to back this up a little bit.
Let me help clean up, let me still, I can say, oh yeah, here you go. And I hand them the plates bin. And they can walk around the table and pick up all the dirty plates. And they can scrape them into the bin labeled trash, hopefully being held by someone else. And then someone comes with the silverware one and the napkin one. And it works really great 90% of the time. Every now and then someone says, no, I'm not going to do that system. I'm going to stand here and do my own system. And then the whole thing's out the window. But when people buy in, it works fantastic. And then I can load the dishwasher at my leisure. I don't have a precarious stack of plates and bowls ready to fall over and be destroyed. I don't have a sink full of dishes, so I can still wash the hand washables. It works fantastic, and I recommend it to anybody. Love the show. Happy Thanksgiving.
Who is the person who asks, how can I help, and then is told how they can help and says, no, I'm not doing it your way in your house?
No, that's a type. That is a type.
Is that an in-law?
I think, or it's the same person who is maybe a family member or a second family member who, when they ask you what you want as a gift for your birthday or something, and you say, I don't want a gift, or here are specifically 3 things I need if you must buy me something, and then they buy you just an unbelievably awful something that you have no desire for. It's that person.
Yeah. And something that you have to hang on your wall. Like, I always think that, like, Vives and I are always very careful about that. Like, sometimes we see something that makes us think of somebody, but it's like, you have to know somebody very, very well to give them a gift that would mean that they have to hang it on their wall, because that's such a personal taste thing.
You have to know that it's something that they want for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a framed poster of 101 things I learned in college.
Or we get some from the in-laws. Yeah.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Gotta be careful with giving that stuff out. Anyway, Bridget, I love your I love your system. I don't, some people, it might just sound, that takes a lot of prep in advance. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I could hear other people saying, well, I don't know if I want to go through all that. But everybody does have their own system. And again, I love that it works for Bridget. And it's just like, it's a way of accepting help that is actual help, that is actually helpful, and that's kind of always my thing. Is kind of like, people want to be helpful. And I'm not saying this to like deride any particular friends or family, but it's just like, I don't know, it's not, how can I help? Well, what they're going to start doing immediately is grabbing a bunch of plates and putting them in the sink. And that is like one of the most unhelpful things to do, because, and Bridget mentioned this, like, then you can't use the sink, or you can only use that little area between the top of the sink and the bottom of your faucet, you know?
And if you
like, that's not helpful.
Like if you load up the sink, depending on what kind of sink you have, you know, like
breakage.
If you have, yeah, or sorry, I'm getting over this cold and this cough is
problem.
persistent. Yeah, if you, you know, or you just end up with like 5 plates stacked on top of 3 glasses in the world's most terrible little tower of dishes. Yeah, and so I feel like I love this idea of a bin system. I love the idea that you can like walk around and get things by type, right? Especially for something like silverware, right? If you have a little container for silverware and you're like, put the dirty silverware in here, then you can immediately go put that in the dishwasher because you probably have room for, like, that's easier. And it's not getting lost at the bottom of the sink. And it's also not just floating around. This also,
and you can say to somebody, hey, look, here's all of our silverware. Yes, the thing you can do is put this in the silverware rack in the dishwasher.
Or like just set it down and I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like about this is also a good way to get everyone involved in the cleanup, because if you give a kid a bin and you say walk around and get all the silverware, I feel like you have a more likelihood of compliance.
Yeah.
One, if they don't have to touch it, the yucky, right? You're just carrying the bin. You don't have to touch the actual stuff. And if they just go like, you know, trick-or-treating around the house for silverware, I like this as well.
I like taking the bins and then, you know, maybe you have a dishwasher, maybe you don't, or maybe it's not going to all fit in the dishwasher. I also like the idea of just like, if the sink is empty because everything hasn't gone into the sink, you can now take one of those bins and put just put soap and hot water right in there. Let it start soaking right away. You have little washing bins for all those things. So I actually really like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a great system. I really appreciate that. I love that tip.
Yeah, if you have any more holiday cleaning tips or prep tips or anything like that, you can email us or call us 508-469-9274. Now, I am tempted, since we already have gone almost a full hour, to push off our next topic until next week, but we've already done that like 2 or 3 shows, I think. So let's do this, but I'm going to try to be somewhat efficient about it. We've been asking listeners to call in with specific cleaning-related jobs that are related to their occupation, something that you might not think about. In fact, I had kind of an interesting experience or conversation about this when I was in Cleveland recently. It turns out I was having a meal with my aunt and uncle, whom I had not seen in years and years and years, actually almost close to 2 decades. And I hadn't seen their son, my cousin, in even longer than that. And I didn't get to see him on this trip. But when I was having lunch with my aunt and uncle, we were having lunch at this kind of upscale place in the Cleveland area. And they mentioned that their son actually launders all of the linens for this place and some huge banquet hall that the owner had just opened as well. And the owner actually came out and said hello to them, and then ended up comping us our meal at the end of the thing. I was not prepared for that at all. And I didn't get to see my cousin, but it sounds like really good, interesting work that you wouldn't really think about. Like, he runs a laundry room specific to this company that has one largest restaurant, bar, and then also has this huge banquet hall that they run in a different community. But all of that stuff goes to where my cousin has to clean all of the linens. And
like
I guess
an industrial laundry type place.
Yes, which he apparently got to help design because he was using like really old machines or whatever when they first hired him. But then when they acquired and then renovated this banquet hall, they gave him the opportunity to like renovate and choose the machines that he needs for this. And I didn't get to see it. I talked about it a lot because it sounds really cool. Yeah. And so that's one of those things. Oh yeah, you don't think about that, like a restaurant or some sort of entertainment industry sort of thing that just has its own in-house service. Like, one person's job is to run this little aspect of it. I thought that was really interesting.
I'm very curious about what the economics of that are like.
Why not use Cintas or some company to come?
Because the infrastructure for having to have those, you know, like the industrial washer and dryers and that kind of thing, and people working there. But I do also love it because it does cut out a middleman. It does mean that you know, you're never going to be out of your linens. Because I remember working in restaurants where, we had like Aramark or whoever, you know, the like industrial laundry that would come pick up our stuff and then bring it back. And we never had a problem with it, but if it still is somebody that you're not responsible for. So I'm very curious about how it comes to that.
Yeah, I wonder, and maybe because I guess this banquet area that they bought, I guess, is huge. I guess we're talking to the owner, and he said it can. I think an event can be up to 2,000 people or something like that. So it sounds like quite a bit. Just that this isn't the restaurant we were eating at. This is a different business, but it sort of sounds like, boy, maybe at that kind of scale, it just makes sense, because if you're having those several events a week or something that is anywhere near that scale, maybe it just makes sense to keep it in house. But anyway, just sort of sounds like it sounds like interesting work, especially the idea of being able to say, oh, okay, now I get to build my own little kind of cleaning factory here. So, okay, so when we first raised this topic, I don't remember how we got on it. Again, I think this was several shows ago when we put the call out. And I know we got a voicemail from your mom, and we might have to pause this to go back and explain. If your mom references anything we were talking about on a show a month ago or more, we might have to pause and explain this. But I think she wanted to talk about some of the jobs your dad has had and the cleaning. I believe so too.
And I can say very quickly, the reason we got on it was because I was getting a tattoo and the guy spilled tattoo ink everywhere. Yeah. And I had just never thought about how you clean up a big black ink stain. And then it got me thinking about the specific things that within your industry you have to clean up that other people might not think about.
And what special products do you need and that kind of thing. And of course your mom had worked in the hotel industry where cleaning was a factor, which I think some of her stories about that was interesting. But I think this one, I think this is your mom leaving the voicemail, but your dad's in the room.
Pod number one here. Two things, both Hannah's dad related, not mother this time. In his previous job, his actual career as a first responder, he always had kitty litter in his trunk because if you are on the scene of a wreck, it will absorb the bodily fluids of a car. So they're always prepared for a cleanup in that regard.
I'm so glad you ended up saying of a car because you said first responder and then bodily fluids. Maybe it's both.
It's not both. And we talked about this on the last show about how kitty litter is I think we talked about this before, that it's a very useful product for oil spills and that that is a thing that is used a lot.
It also, I think when I lived in cold weather places like New Hampshire and Cleveland, some people kept in the back of their car for traction in case you got caught in the snow or ice or something like that.
For sure, instead of road salt or something,
Okay, back to Julie.
That was a thing they had. And in his retired life, where he throws pottery, he said that the ceramicist that he knows and how he was taught was that you set up your wheel and your station with cleaning in mind. You have a bucket of water on one side where you use it as you go along, but also you're set up to clean. And then another one with tools. Is that what you said? Tools. So that you're using your tools when you have water going, but you're also using that water to clean your tools. So those are cleaning related. Obviously, in Hannah's mother's life, there was no cleaning involved. That's not true.
That's not true.
Stripping stuff right now this week. Hey, thanks. Love the show.
But I mean, certainly from a professional standpoint, your mom had experience with that cleaning, right? I know that she wasn't housekeeping, right? She worked the front desk, but she was telling us stories about housekeeping and processes.
She doesn't keep houses, but she knows about other people who do.
But she's done it before, I'm sure. No, am I wrong about that? God, I thought she told us that maybe she was just telling us about the tools that the housekeepers used.
I mean, maybe she did. I just know that in my life growing up with her, cleaning was not a priority of our home.
Yeah. Oh, in your own home, yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, although I take it back, I said we didn't have any cleaning products. That's not true. We always had one giant bottle of Citrusolve mixed up, and we would use that for anything that needed cleaning, which is actually pretty functional.
Yeah. I'm looking at another voicemail we have here, and this is from Leah. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is a long one. I don't know if it needs any setup, so I am just going to go ahead and hit play on this.
Hello, Andrew and Hannah. This is listener Leah, number 16, out of Salt Lake.
Nice.
I'm dropping a note about the industry-specific cleaning tasks. So I have been a seamstress of some sort my whole life. Most of my career has been spent in stage and film as a tailor and dressmaker, but now I run my own business doing gear repair. like specifically sewing repairs on outdoor apparel. So think your ski gear, your rain jackets, your hiking pants, your backpacks and tents, stuff like that. So shameless plug, anybody in the Utah area, if you want to hit up Gear Healer, find me on Instagram or gearhealer.com. Just
Good
saying.
name. Good name.
So at any rate, in my theater days, we often had to deal with very sweaty and or stinky actors, and you can't just launder every costume every night. Many things are hand wash only or must be dry cleaned. So to mitigate the smell, we always would do a diluted vodka water spray. We usually would do like 10 to 1 water to vodka.
Yeah.
But in really severe cases, we would do half vodka, half water. You spray down the pits and the crotch of your stuff, sometimes even more than that. And it is amazing how quickly very cheap vodka can cut out BO out of your clothing and your soft goods. So that's hint number 1. Number 2, this is a thing I see all the time in my current work environment. I work with a lot of GORE-TEX apparel, so it's really expensive stuff. It's waterproof, and people always assume that you can't launder it. And in fact, you should. You should launder it often because the structure of the fabric is such that there's different layers to it, and the oils and dirt from your skin will get into the fibers of the fabric, and it'll separate the layers, rendering it less waterproof, less breathable. Like your just body gunk can clog up the fabric essentially. So there's a very specific kind of detergent. I use either Nick Wax has a tech wash, or Granger's is another brand that has a tech wash that's specific for
Granger's. That's our G.
I was just thinking that. That's so funny.
Thank you, Leah. We needed that. Okay, so I'll continue with your voicemail here.
Your apparel, like your outerwear apparel, stuff like your GORE-TEX items. It will restore the waterproofness and clean your items.
Wow.
The other one is I do a lot of projects on down jackets and sleeping bags. So again, there is a similar detergent. Those same brands have down specific detergent options where it's a lighter weight, it's a gentler sort of detergent. So if you think of the puffy down that's inside of your jackets, a regular detergent can really cling to that down and weigh it down and make it still like clump up. And when it's clumpy, then it doesn't trap the warm air inside the baffles, and that's what keeps you warm. That's what gives down its amazing warmth retention properties. So you want to use a down specific detergent for that. Again, you should wash them often, at least once a season. Seasons of use at least. And here's the biggest clue: when you wash it, that's the one part, but when you dry it, a lot of people think they've ruined their down apparel because when they take it out of the dryer, it's all clumpy. All that means is it's not dry yet. So you should dry any down jackets on low to no heat with something to agitate it, like a tennis ball or, traditional dryer balls. Low to no heat, and you're going to have to dry it for a long time. So if it still smells like, like a barn, like if there's any scent to
wet
it,
chickens.
that, that animal sort of scent, because it's obviously an animal product, keep drying it. If it's clumpy, keep drying it. Just dry it until it's fluffy. It will come back out. I promise. People all the time think, I can't wash it. I can't wash it. That's gross. You need to wash it. That's my 2 cents. Vodka water spray for your BO things that can't get laundered as often as you might like. And then product specific detergents for your apparel items that serve specific purposes. That's my 2 cents. Thanks, guys. Love the show. Bye.
Well,
Those are
this is why I could
such
never
good
be an
tips.
actor. That just the thought of those outfits or costumes, I guess I should say. Do they call them costumes?
Yeah.
Outfits, uniforms, whatever it is. That is just like, it's those little details of, it's like, oh God, night after night, sweating from the energy and activity of the performance, as well as nervousness and everything, and then maybe somebody else has to play Santa the next night. I don't know what the production is.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But like, it's just or why they're swapping out Santas, who knows? But anyway, like, it's just like, oh God, yeah, that's the stuff I don't think about. That sounds so gross.
I remember being in theater and having to put on your getting into dress, and it always felt weird because it was clothing you'd worn the day before that you probably hadn't washed. And it already a lot of times is either kind of ill-fitting, and obviously I was like a high school theater kid. It wasn't like I was doing a professional production. But it does always feel a little weird, like you're putting on someone else's clothes.
A little musty because it was probably used in last year's play, or it's been in the
I have
closet.
heard this vodka water trick before. Also, actually, it's funny you said uniforms, because I know people also do use this on band uniforms.
Sure, yeah.
Because you have to get those, I think, dry cleaned, but obviously you can only do that sometimes. And so I've heard this vodka water trick before. I know dancers use it. I think, and if we have any listeners out here who can weigh in on this, I think I've also heard it used for yoga mats.
Oh, that makes sense.
Your
Yeah.
yoga mat is very spongy and absorbent, and it will absorb bacteria, and it will grow bacteria. And I know there's a lot of different yoga mat cleaners out there, cleaner sprays. Usually they use some sort of antibacterial or antifungal, something like a tea tree oil, but that has kind of a strong fragrance. So I feel like I've heard people also use diluted vodka for that. I could be wrong, but I would be interested to hear about also how people clean places like gyms, because those are similar.
Yeah.
icky
I'll bet you
places.
that. It shouldn't. As soon as Leah mentioned the vodka, I thought that would be up your alley, because you've been sort of advocating for that in various.
I think we've
various
heard of this
aspects.
before, yeah. And thank you, Leah. Very helpful. I always put on the website any sort of links and stuff. So I wrote down those instructions that she gave, and I will put them on. And I will also link to Gear Healer on our website if people want to learn more
Nice.
about what Leah's up to, and maybe if you have some gear that you need to get patched up or cleaned.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to read an email here. Maybe we should, maybe we can continue this conversation in another episode too, because I know that we had some feedback on this from Instagram. But I'm going to read one more email we got from Kate on this idea of occupational cleaning. Kate says, I'm an RN working in the operating room, which basically means my job involves cleaning at a level that would impress a crime scene investigator. Hey, we were just talking about that earlier. That reminds me, I read a book called Saturday somewhat recently, by Ian McEwan. I actually wasn't a huge fan of the book, but one of my favorite parts of it was he was a surgeon, and there are a couple of scenes that take place in the operating room, I guess, or the surgery theater. I don't know what you would call it. I guess operating room, right?
I think they call it a surgery theater in the UK.
Oh, okay. Is that when also students are watching? It doesn't matter. I'm getting off track. But all of that is to say,
It used to always be called a theater because a lot of times people were watching, and then
but then it just that name stuck. But anyway, what I loved was they went into meticulous detail of the cleaning before and after of the operating room, and that was my favorite part of the book. And it sounds like Kate has experience with that. Kate says
I
after
love the idea of
every
you reading an Ian McEwan book, and your favorite part is the cleaning scenes.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the book ended up winning me
funny.
over a little bit in the last few pages of it, but it's a
He's not
weird
a feel-good
read.
writer. Yeah, he's not
a feel-good writer. I mean, I loved Atonement. I mean, Atonement was so good and
That
so
book
heartbreaking.
fucked me
Yeah.
up. That book, I remember
I
reading that
know.
book when I was 24, and it just wrecked me.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's rough, man.
so-
I was sitting at Big Mario's one time. This goes back years. I read that book, and I remember reading it at the bar at this pizza place bar called Big Mario's here in Seattle. And there was some woman sitting next to me, and she was talking to a friend or something the whole time. We sat next to each other for 45 minutes, and then they got up to leave, and the woman just turned to me, and we had not spoken the whole time, and she just said, "I just want to prepare you that book is going to kill you. Like this book
Take
is
that book
going to
out of public.
absolutely
Yeah.
devastate you. And I hadn't gotten to any of the sad parts yet, but I said, well, yeah, I guess it's called atonement. I guess I'm buckled up for that. It's called atonement for some reason. Somebody's going to be atoning.
It's not a reading in a bar book, though. I think she was trying to warn you before you started sobbing into your pizza and beer.
Luckily, I'm a slow reader, so it still took probably months after that for me to get to the really devastating.
It's a short
parts
book, though, too. It's not a big book. But maybe not. Maybe
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's whatever. I am a
Yes.
very slow reader. I don't think it's a particularly short book. I think it's like a novel length book. But anyway, that's really good. Saturday, I had some issues with some of the character development in it, but anyway, ended up sort of winning me over. But okay, Kate says back to this idea of cleaning up an operating room. Says after every surgery, we do what's called a turnover, which basically means wiping down everything with medical-grade disinfectants until the room looks like nothing just happened in there. We use a machine called a Neptune. It's similar to a giant shop vac, but for bodily fluids. Once the patient is safely out of the OR, our team quickly wipes and sucks away any signs of the medical procedure that was just performed. And that's from listener Kate. That's fascinating.
Is what? Okay. So this machine, wait, can I Google this machine real quick?
Yeah, the Neptune operating room. I don't even know how you would...
Okay, here we go. Robotic pool cleaner Neptune makes. Okay, I see it. Okay. Yeah, I've seen these before. These are, it is like a shop vac, but it's more industrial, and the whole thing is that it can pick up like fluids. It has attachments, like a little scrubber, so it looks like it can pick stuff up and maybe spray down chemicals to clean up. So it's kind of an all-in-one.
Are you looking at the Neptune 3, by the way? That's what it looks like they're up to now. And it does look like a... The Neptune 3 is what I'm looking at, and it does look like a medical...
Yes.
It's both a cleaning device, but you can see it being very comfortable amongst medical gear.
Yes. It's definitely no frills.
It has HEPA filtration and other kinds of filtration.
How do you clean this machine out, though?
That's a good question.
You gotta
when it's
flush
full.
that bad, dude, because it's full of everything. Cleaning up surgeries, and after, like, I remember when I was a kid watching ER, that they, on that show, do address the having to clean up after, like, pretty frequently. Other medical shows don't necessarily get into all that. I remember the cleaning up after, emergent situations being a fairly common subject that they touched on in the show. And I remember sort of it made me think about it a lot more than like with other, medical, like I don't think House ever got into like cleaning up after the surgery.
No, probably not.
But like there was like a non-zero amount of, conversations between characters that would happen while they were cleaning up, after a fatality or something. So I have thought about this a little bit, but yeah, I mean, with that space, not only do you have to clean up all the bits, and you also really do have to sanitize it. So that's a big process.
Now, I hesitate to do this because I know that we cannot trust these AI preview things.
Correct.
But I'm looking at the Neptune 3. It does seem to be the current model. Everything is leading me back to the Neptune 3 for some reason. It is called a constantly closed waste management system that collects, transports, and disposes surgical fluid waste and helps protect staff from exposure. So that's off of their actual website. That's not the AI overview. But I did type in, how do you clean the Neptune 3? And it says, and this is, again, this has to be taken with a grain of salt. This is the Google AI picking this information from various articles, I assume. It says the primary method for cleaning the fluid path and canisters of the Neptune 3 is the automated cycle performed by the docking station. After a surgical procedure, the mobile rover unit is rolled to a central docking station. The unit interfaces with the station to empty the fluid waste into the sanitary sewer. Following disposal, the docking station automatically rinses the rover's internal canisters and tubing with clean water in a Stryker-approved detergent or enzyme cleaner. And Stryker, I believe, is the brand name here. So that sort of makes sense because a hospital, there's going to be laws about disposing of this stuff too. So they must have systems in place that you buy these things, but you also are buying the infrastructure that you then dock it into something, and it kind of self-cleans and also disposes of this in a legal, appropriate way.
That is fascinating.
Right? That is. I want to get the Neptune 3 people
Brilliant.
on the show.
I know. So smart. Oh, my goodness.
And it looks like you're going to need to change filters and stuff, which totally makes sense. Anyway, that is really, really, really interesting.
That is so interesting.
Now I want to get one of these things. Here's what, if you don't mind me just kind of being bossy here, which is my usual thing, let's keep a couple more of these comments on topics of professional setting cleaning for next episode, and also invite people to get involved as well. If you have, if any of the conversation we've had has made you realize, hey, wait a second, I do have some special cleaning stuff that I do.
I feel like basically every job has like some kind of thing you have to know. Even, I remember even learning how to like take care of like mic, like pop guards and like mic covers, that takes something. Like really anything you do regularly, you probably are going to have to do some cleaning. And I'm very curious. Yeah, I love those like industry secrets. I love those kinds of tips. And then if you're like listener Leah, you also have very like pragmatic tips for people to wash your GORE-TEX.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Who knew?
Yeah, by the way, on the top, I don't know if we must have talked about this because we were podcasting during the pandemic, but like, obviously we were all doing social distancing, but that's when I really started to pay attention to cleaning my, mic filters, or what you would pop guards or whatever you call them. But this is more like kind of a wind guard that I have on my microphones. And we had a guest who would come over to my studio to record. This is Gus, who was probably maybe 10, 11, 12 at the time or something. And he would come over and
my former neighbor.
That's right, of course. This is
Gus,
our friend Phyllis's son.
Told me every cat's name in the neighborhood, and I really...
Oh, that's right.
Gus
he had a cat map.
He did have a cat map, and he used to come out sometimes when I was walking my dog that I had then, and he would walk my dog with me, and we would go looking for cats together, and then he would tell me what all their names were.
He's awesome.
Oh,
and he would come over to do, like, because he was partnering up with another podcast to give his perspective on COVID as a kid his age at the time. And so anyway, so he would come over to my studio, but I wanted to be very responsible about it, right? And also, this is more of an issue now with a more long-haired cat, but also these things kind of collect cat hair. I'm actually looking at this one across from me that Genevieve uses, and it's covered in cat hair right now because Bingo will come up and strafe it when he's feeling amorous, And what I like to do is, first of all, try to get all of that cat hair off with like using tape or a lint roller or something, but then soak it in a sink full of water with some sort of gentle detergent. What is the very gentle detergent that comes in the white bottle that is
all?
Maybe not all. It's one that is more specific. I think it's branded very specific. Like you do your delicates. If you're washing your delicates in the sink, you're probably going to use this stuff.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because the thing
we need that for our list of products when we're trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, I guess so. Because the thing about detergents specifically is like a detergent is a thing that has a cleaning agent, and it specifically will like do some kind of like stripping or like that kind of thing. And they do come, like some are more caustic than others, right? So like a heavy duty fabric can handle a more caustic detergent, whereas others are more like, I think, like maybe less acidic or less basic, closer to like a neutral pH, and aren't like, don't pull away fibers or whatever. So yeah, there are some that are more gentle than others.
I was thinking of Woolite for whatever it's worth. That was the one that I was thinking of, which I think of as, I'm trying to figure out if I'm right about this. I've always considered that to be a pretty, because I think it's made for wool, right? So I always assume that it's kind of, I always think of it as like a very gentle, like if I have to, anyway, I would just wash my microphone stuff in that. Let it soak for a while, pull it out, let it dry really, really well before you put it back on the microphone, because you don't want any kind of moisture getting into your microphones. But it was always such a nice feeling, man, to have like and then to like kind of smell the mic. And
so very briefly, and then we can wrap up. Keith recently took a couple of our items to the dry cleaner, like our household kind of stuff, including our like couch throw blanket. We have a Pendleton blanket that was a very big purchase for me when I bought it. It was like a very big deal to buy like a big, nice Pendleton wool blanket. But you have to dry clean it. And so we take it to the dry cleaners probably once a year. Probably should do it more than that.
Yeah,
but
it's probably expensive though, huh? Dry cleaning. I took my Peacoat to get it dry cleaned last year, and it cost more than the coat cost. It was a cheap coat. But
it's one of those things like framing where you just, when you do it right, you're like, there's some sticker shock. But this blanket, and now we're very much in like lady under a blanket season.
Yes.
it came back from the dry cleaners yesterday, and it was so soft, and it felt
that's so great.
good, and it was so pretty. The colors were so it felt so good. So yes, it is one of those
I
things.
love
where,
that. Are you keeping Lola away from it now?
She doesn't really
You
care.
kinda
It's not
can't-
really one of her favorite.
Okay.
She's not a blanket girl. She didn't grow up with blankets,
Oh.
so she kind of doesn't get them.
Oh, yeah.
She also will not lay on a blanket that's too rumpled. So like, I have a blanket. I have one of those like sort of water repellent dog blankets, which I'm sure are terrible for the planet, but whatever. And it's kind of like fuzzy, and it sits in her dog bed because it's just easier to wash the blanket than the dog bed. And if she'll get in, she'll bunch it up the way she likes it, and then she'll lay down. But if she gets up and then goes back to the bed and the blanket remains bunched, she will just stand at the edge of the bed waiting for someone to tidy it for her.
Somebody with opposable thumbs?
Yes. So then almost always it's Keith, because he'll see her lingering at her bed like, gosh, I sure wish this were straightened up a little bit. And
God,
then
she's really got you guys wrapped around her.
she's got us trained. And so he'll be like,
Paws.
uh-oh, is your blanket too messy? And he'll go over and like shake it out and lay it back down nicely for her, and she immediately gets right in. So
And that must be daily, if not multiple times a day.
it's at least daily, but usually what we do is like when I'm straightening up the living room, I will also straighten up her blankets for
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
So it's also just part of the cleaning of the day, like sort of putting
Yeah.
stuff away. But so the Pendleton, she's not really that interested in, because it's usually either just over the back of the couch, or it's on my person, or it's rumpled.
Yeah,
so
right.
it doesn't really call to her the same way her little favorite blanket does.
Because I can sort of see that. Like, often, pets and people enjoy the same blankets.
Well,
but if you just got one back from the dry cleaner that you
Indy
spent
used to
some
hang
money
out
on.
He loved that blanket, my previous dog, because he was a little dog, and he used to hang out on the back of the couch all the time because he was
Oh,
small.
yeah, right. Up on top.
Up on
yeah.
top, and he could see the street. It was the back of the couch backed up to like the
Yeah.
window kind of. So I would put the blanket over the back of the couch, and he would specifically lay on the blanket on the back of the couch because he loved a little something under him. Like, he was one of those dogs that just like, if I put a pillow flat on the couch, he would immediately come get on the pillow. Like, he just loved like a little perch. And so
Yeah.
he was on that blanket all the time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one of those kind of generic-y but like really fluffy red blankets,
Mm-hmm.
if you can sort of picture it, the kind that like if you shake it out and then fold it up and it's kind of in a big square and I put it on the couch, but it's the kind of blanket, it's that material that if you were to like drag your fingers across it, you'd like kind of drag four darker lines, by messing up the,
It's like
the
chenille
pattern
kind
or whatever.
of, or sort of,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know the word for it, but you see them all over the place. They're affordable but very cozy little blankets. But because I'm just me, and I like the way that you and Keith, it also just sort of sounds like you're really raising a very neat Nicky dog, both
Yes.
with this blanket and her not liking to look out a window if it's got her nose prints all over it. She waits for you to clean it, all of that stuff. But like, I love it when I shake that thing out and I fold it up into a perfect little square, and then every now and then I'll come out of my office and this thing is sitting on the couch near my office door, and I'll come out of the office and bingo, my cat doesn't like to be in here when I'm podcasting, which is well-known canon at this point, but sometimes he'll just go right out there and he'll just sit right in the middle of that thing and he'll just sort of like sit there, and I call it his tuffet. Now, I don't really
Yes.
know what a tuffet is, but it seems like a tuffet to me, and I'm just like a tough guy on his tuffet as he sits there on his perfectly folded little blanket. I love it. But I think cats usually don't want the perfectly folded blanket. That's what
They
drives me
like the
crazy. I think
rumples.
he wants the rumples. He wants the adventure of it all. But I like him to look neat.
Yeah. And I feel like, that's the thing is, like, I had the guest bed over here that Lola likes to lay on. I had it made earlier, and she immediately, when she got up onto it to like hang out while I was podcasting, like started pulling everything apart because she like needs to make it rumpled. But I guarantee you, if she gets
but it's her rumples.
yes, and if she were to hop down off the bed now and get back, she wouldn't lay on the rumply part. She would lay on the tidy part and maybe rumple it up too. Like,
Yeah.
it just is. Yeah, it's her rumple. She has to. But she never straightens it. She doesn't know how to straighten
No,
it.
she doesn't know how to. That's why she needs you guys.
Guess so.
Which is good. She's going to stick around for a while.
I'm very glad to be Lola's house girl,
yeah.
which is basically what I am.
I feel the same way about my cat.
Sometimes I call her my cruise director because that's also how it feels like in my
Yeah,
life.
she's sort of telling you what the activities of the day are.
She's like,
yeah.
so it's Saturday, so you know what that means. Yeah. Or she's like the lady who works at a retirement home who just shuffles Keith and I around to tell us where we're supposed to be.
Well, I love the idea that you don't want to do what she wants to do, which is usually drag you to a bar somewhere, it sounds like, anyway. on a
Sometimes
Saturday.
I don't want to have to go in public, and she fucking loves public. Her favorite
Yeah.
thing to do is go just be in public, and then, but but she doesn't like to talk to people. So then I have to do the talking. It's like having an introverted friend who just likes to sit in public, but like they don't actually want to do the talking, so you're their guide. That's how it is.
Yeah. Well, you guys will work it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I believe in you. I believe in you both. Are we still looking for more story? I guess we're looking for stories of holiday cleanup or holiday cleanup systems. We're looking, if you heard any of today's stories about occupational cleanup, join the conversation. You'll hear the voicemail number here in just a moment. And we do have some more to share from Instagram where you can share your stories there as well. So thanks, everybody, for hanging with us. Hope you have a great, very clean, very tasty Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
You've been listening to the Spotless Podcast. If you have a question for Hannah and Andrew or some cleaning advice, call the Spotline at 508-HOW-WASH. That's 508-469-9274. You can also email them at spotlesspod@gmail.com. We'll be back soon. But until then, always remember, life is messy, but it doesn't have to be.